No, the sutural bones are, you'll see these tonight, the sutural bones are the bones of the skull.
Okay.
And the sutures are actually the lines. Oh, well here I've got the skull. I got the roof of this skull here. You can see it has obvious lines on it. And those are the sutures. And you'll be learning the bones of the skull tonight. We'll talk, but there's 4 sutures that you have to be able to identify. This is the picture for everybody.
Oh, the book doesn't have the hollow bones in it.
Doesn't have the what?
The hollow bones you're talking about?
The pneumaticized bone?
Yeah, it's not in the book.
Yeah, you've got an older edition of the book probably, and they put this in here just to confound us all. Because I remember when I got a new edition, I was looking at it. For some reason, I picked up this picture and going, oh, they put a new kind of bone in here for me, a pneumaticized bone. So if you have an older edition of Martini, you don't have pneumaticized bones, but you do want to remember pneumaticized bones. Okay. And the last thing I need to help you with tonight, and this really will help you a little bit, is when you begin to look tonight at the structure of the skull and you're looking for things, and you know, my list says find the foramen magnum or a fossa or something like that. These are terms which are new to you, so I need to just very quickly go over them with you. A fissure is a narrow slit between adjacent parts of bones, and generally speaking, fissures are places where nerves or blood vessels run through. So for example, tonight you're going to be looking for something called the jugular fissure, right? Or the carotid canal, right? Fissures, canals, narrow passageways through bone. So if the study guide says find a certain type of fissure, you're looking for a slit. A foramen is generally speaking a big round opening. And the biggest foramen in the human skull is the one that the spinal cord emerges from, this big round thing here, which is the foramen magnum. So foramens are much bigger than fissures. And a fossa is a shallow depression in a bone. And on the back of your, I don't have a humerus up here, the back of your humerus you have a thing called the olecranon fossa, but tonight you'll be looking for the cranial fossas. You can see inside this skull here, there's sort of like 3 little depressions, and those are the cranial fossas. And if you vaguely remember anything about the structure of the brain fits nicely into these fossas. And so those are just shallow depressions. The meatus, like the external or internal acoustic meatus, these are passageways through bone. And there's a few meatuses that you'll be finding also tonight, the external auditory meatus and the internal auditory meatus. So those are a few you'll need tonight, definitely. Let's see, what's this next one? This is mostly for joints. We really probably won't, well, I was going to say, we probably won't have to worry about this tonight, but one you will have to find tonight is a condyle. A condyle basically means knuckle, but not like knuckles that we're thinking about in your hand. But one of the condyles you'll be looking at tonight actually is on the occipital bone, which is the bone back here. And you can see on this, right where the big opening is, there's kind of 2 little, you can't see from where you are unless you're really close to me, 2 little flat knuckle-like surfaces there. Those are called occipital condyles. And the first cervical vertebrae articulates right there. So condyles are knuckles. They're flat articular surfaces. You'll be finding some of those tonight. Facets, those will be more relevant when we talk about the vertebrae. Heads, those are more, I'm trying to think, there's nothing really on the skull that has the word head associated with it. But we'll be talking about those when we get to the long bones, heads of the femur, heads of the humerus, radius, and all the things like that. Even the ribs have structures called heads. So that's probably not something that you need to worry about tonight. But condyles definitely will come into play this evening. And this one really is more related to the long bones. You really won't be seeing too much of this tonight. Tuberosities, crests, trochanters, lines, tubercles, epicondyle, spines. Those will come up when we get into the appendicular skeleton, and we'll do that on Thursday night. And we'll be talking about many of these things that are associated with attachments for connective tissue. The reason that our bones have all these kind of, as I was saying earlier, all these kind of pits and rough surfaces and things like that on them are places where the muscles are attached, and they're actually attached in these little structures and pits. Like the humerus here has two really, obviously has a big head, but has these two big projections right here. These big projections are called trochanters, and they're places where the big muscles, you know, of our trunk attached to the femur. So anyway, this is so probably won't need any of those tonight. Now, there's lots and lots. I can't stress to you enough how many features you're going to have to be able to find on bone. And this is how this is how the bone test works. I'll tell you right now. It's very likely that this bone is, there's going to be a femur on the test. I guarantee it, as a matter of fact. It'll be on the test. But it doesn't just sit at a station and the question that you're asked is name this bone. I mean, you know, even right now you know it's a femur. And we know you know it's a femur. What we're interested in is, do you know any of the features of the femur? And so, for example, you know, you'll be learning this is called the greater trochanter, and this is the lesser trochanter, and there's another thing on there called the linea aspera, and there's little knuckle-like structures down here called condyles. So what we're asking on the test is not just name the bone, but name bone features. So not only do you need to know the name of the bone, which you would know anyway, but oftentimes just what are some of the features on those bones. So that's the thing you need to concentrate on. The skulls we have are really interesting because some of them, well, obviously you can see that this is a real skull. This guy definitely had some issues with his teeth. Not very good. Some of them obviously have fallen out. You can see that some of them are really pretty worn down. This skull, I actually picked this up. This is going to be a problem tonight for you guys because you're going to be asking me. The word sinus. Sinus is an airspace. And one of the sinuses that's on your list to find is the frontal sinus. Well, here's the frontal bone. And you can see on this skull, there's space up here. Right here, this is the frontal sinus. Many of our skulls, the sinuses are ossified. You really don't see them, right? But you can see it on this one. Some of our other bones that you'll be able to see them on are bones which have been cut into sagittal section, where you can actually, sagittal section skull, where you can actually see the sinus when it's cut in the correct section. Now, we don't have a lot of these, but we have a few. The other thing that really is interesting on some of our skulls is when you begin to look at some of them, especially juvenile skulls, if they've been preserved or cut in a certain way, is you can actually, I know we've got a couple of them where this is the adult skull, but some of the bone here has been removed on purpose. You can actually see the adult dentition, the adult teeth, waiting to push in, right? So your kids, if they're, haven't lost their baby teeth yet, and they do, it's the first ones that come in and then those fall out, well, they're being replaced by teeth which are formed up here and they're waiting to come in. We've actually got a couple where you can actually see the wisdom teeth, and you can see why wisdom teeth become such a problem for adults. They just don't really fit us anymore. Now, there are probably people in this room who can say, hey, you know what, no, I didn't have any problem. I never had my wisdom teeth removed, and I still got them. Well, most of us don't, because they come in at funny angles, and then they make pain, and they crowd these back molars out. I think our skulls probably evolved a bit over the years to a position where they just don't fit anymore, right? We still got them, right? If you look at them, they were an extra set of molars that were for grinding and all that kind of stuff, right? So, most of the time, just had to have them removed. I'm gonna say it was a cool thing. Recently, I don't know, it's been in the last year or months or something like that, the